In today's show, we're going to talk more about testosterone and the disturbing trend in low testosterone levels amongst men of reproductive age. This, I think, is important to enumerate and talk about what scientists are discovering with regards to temporal or time-related changes in testosterone levels amongst men of reproductive age. In fact, this study involving 102,000 men has found that men between the ages of 20 and 25 have observed a 37% reduction in testosterone levels over the past 15 years, my friends. This is quite disturbing because what we're seeing here is not only low testosterone, but the low testosterone is impacting spermatogenesis and the function and the fertility of sperm. And that is leading to a global decline and changes in fertility, which is a major problem. I don't know about you, but many people that I know in their late 20s and early 30s that are trying to conceive and have children are having challenges. They're going to fertility clinics, spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on medications and procedures to improve their fertility. So I want to share with you this data and then talk about 8 ways to support your testosterone levels. So if you have a significant other that has low T, erectile issues, sexual performance issues, I think you might want to keep watching because this science, as disturbing as it is, there's hope because there's natural things that we can implement in our diet and lifestyle, as this paper talks about that I'll share with you on the screen and then we're going to break down right now. The title here is Secular Trends in Testosterone, Findings from a Large State Mandate Care Provider. And again, the limitations of this study was, well, although it does include a large data set, 102,000 samples of blood samples over the past 25 years in men, it's limited to just Israel. So we're looking at, just a small subset of a population in the world, but it is representative of a trend and it does corroborate with other data sets that we have here in the US, specifically referring to the NHANES data set and other biobank data sets in the UK and other parts of the world. And as you can see here, in this figure here, you see mean testosterone per age per year. And what you're seeing here is this massive decline that, my friends, it's important to understand. It's obesity and also age independent. And so when we think about low testosterone and what are the drivers of this, we think about sleep loss, we think about blood sugar imbalances, and we think about obesity. But what's interesting is in this particular data set, the researchers controlled for obesity and found an obesity-independent association with a temporal change and a decline in testosterone, which I think is important. And that's not to say that you shouldn't care about losing weight and that you shouldn't care about belly fat. That is very important to testosterone levels, but there is a global shift and a global decline in testosterone levels. And we're going to talk about those reasons why. But first, I think it's important that we understand literally how important of a problem this is and why we should start acting now and implement therapeutic lifestyle change, as this paper and many other papers have talked about, because our sleep, our stress, our diet, our exercise habits all influence testosterone levels. And it seems that humans, there's something going on in the environment. The overabundance of persistent organic pollutants, these endocrine disrupting chemicals are impacting in a negative way hormonal regulation and decreasing testosterone, decreasing androgens like DHEA. And this is impacting fertility. And I want to just focus on right here, between the years of 2006, you see the mean testosterone level, and this is free testosterone, was around 20. Okay. Again, this is in men between the ages of 18 and say, I think it's like 25. Now, what you see here between, fast forward 15 years, between the years of 2016 and 2019, you see a 37% drop. These are young men that should have their peak testosterone levels. It has dropped 37% and it continues to decline up until the age 80. And again, there's age-independent shifts and declines across the board in testosterone levels. And this is another way to sort of look at that here. Figure B, you can see here between the ages of 20 and 30, the massive drop in testosterone. And again, between the ages of 30 and 40, and then again, between 40 and 80. And so just to reemphasize and recapitulate what the scientists say is there's an age-independent decline in testosterone, okay, and also fertility. So we know this is happening. Why is this happening? Well, there's 2 books that I want to share with you. One right here, it's called Fateful Harvest. A really good read, and I resonated with this maybe more so than other people because this book is all about how chemical companies are dumping their toxic chemicals and repurposing them as fertilizer And so even if we go to, say, the farmer's market, or we go to Whole Foods and we're buying an apple that might be labeled organic or what have you, that could have been grown with the use of fertilizer that has been sprayed with chemicals that have been dumped by chemical companies. We're talking about arsenic, PCBs, dioxins, and all these other chemicals that are legally. This is what's crazy about this book, is they talk about the backstory about how it's perfectly legal for chemical companies to repurpose and reuse these chemicals and dispose of them in fertilizer that is used to grow your crops. So we are being exposed to this in our air, in our food, and in our water. So we all need to invest. Men, even if you're done having kids, you want healthy levels of testosterone, and women as well. It's so important for the brain. It's important for the heart. It's important for preserving skeletal muscle. It's important for having vigor and feeling good and not being depressed, okay? So eat local. Try to, reach out to your local farmer, find out where your food is growing, grow your food yourself, get to know your local rancher, and make sure that they're not using fertilizers that have been acquired from these chemical companies that are repurposing these toxic chemicals and reusing them in fertilizer. I think this is a crazy story that no one really knows about, but it's rampant. And this book goes into the backstory in Quincy, Washington, where a bunch of farmers started to notice a decline in their crop production after acquiring fertilizer from this major company called Cenex. And they, lo and behold, came to find out that they were dumping all these chemicals, and that was actually causing a decline in the production and also greater incidences in a bunch of different cancers in children and reproductive issues in children. So that's important. There's also an older book that I would recommend reading if you can find it. A friend sent this to me, my friend Jessica, The Poisons in Your Food. And this goes into all of the different problems in our food and not just highlighting the problems, but more importantly, how to shop better for foods, what foods to avoid, what foods to start including, and what foods could be problematic when it comes to trace levels of endocrine disrupting chemicals that are linked with lower levels of testosterone, which I think is a major issue, especially if you have young children or you're planning on having children. And of course, if you're sexually active because you want to have good hormone levels. So 2 resources, 2 books that are just phenomenal. Now let's talk about the 8 things that you can do to naturally support your testosterone levels. A lot of people don't realize that your daily activity and step count is actually linked with your testosterone levels. So men who walk less than 6,000 steps per day have, independent of other factors, lower testosterone levels compared to men who walk more than 6,000 steps per day. So invest in a Fitbit, get a watch that can quantify and enumerate your steps, and start walking more. A rule that I like to create for clients, very simple, 2,000 steps before they have any food. Okay, so this could be before work, before breakfast. Go out and get 2,000 steps. It takes about 10 to 12 minutes, friends, if you're walking at a vigorous pace. Get another 2,000 steps after lunch, another 2,000 steps after dinner, and in between, maybe at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock before lunch at work or something, get 1,000 steps in. Take the stairs. When you're running errands, park your car a little bit further away, and you can squeeze in another 1,200 steps throughout the day, and that will get you close to 8,000 steps. We recently reviewed a study involving 329,000 people that found that if you can walk between 8 and 10,000 steps per day, you dramatically reduce your risk of developing obesity, sleep apnea, gastrointestinal reflux disorder, depression, diabetes, and high blood pressure. So walking, literally that's it, can actually boost your testosterone levels. So that's very important. Number 2, focusing on sleep. A lot of people neglect sleep. It's tempting to watch Netflix, to be on your phone, to work late, to go out to the bar and do all that. But when you are not only getting short duration sleep, but having shifts in your sleep-wake cycle that is linked with lower levels of testosterone. So really treat sleep like you would your job, like 9 to 5, you show up to work, or whatever your work schedule is, 12 to 8, right? Everyone's a little bit different. Treat your sleep the same way. Try to go to bed and rise at the same time every day. We've talked about how to enumerate the amount of light that you're getting in the evening, light in the morning, and so forth. Be vigilant about reducing the light intensity in your living quarters to less than 50 lux in the 2 hours before bed, and make sure your bedroom has less than 5 lux of light. You can download a free light meter on your phone. There's a lot of apps in the store, or go to Amazon. I'll put a screenshot of the one that I purchased. It was $29. Sometimes I bring this, if I'm going out to dinner with friends or going to their house, I'll bring it with me it's fun to talk about. A lot of people don't even know about how bright their living quarters are until you actually show them. And so during the day, you want to strive in your work environment to get more than 500 lux of light. So reorganize your work environment so you're facing the windows outdoors, and that helps to entrain your body's circadian clock system that is so important for sleep pressure, sleep regulation, and your hormone levels. Stop watching porn. I know porn is so popular, it's accessible. If I wanted to, I could access porn right now on my iPhone. Porn is really bad. It impacts oxytocin, prolactin levels. Porn is bad news, my friends. You do not want to watch porn. It's going to augment sex drive, libido, sexual function, and probably change testosterone levels for the worse. I know this is a topic that people don't want to talk about. It's the elephant in the room. Porn addiction is real. A lot of people are overusing porn. I have so many clients who are no longer sexually attracted and can't sexually perform with their spouses because they watch porn. So get rid of porn. It's all bad. Balancing your blood sugar. It sounds super simple, but people with prediabetes and diabetes have low testosterone. Okay, so what are some tools that can help you? Walking after meals, eat less processed food and less sugar, eat within daylight hours, fast when it's dark. You might want to consider taking berberine hydrochloride with meals that can help support your metabolic health. There's tools and solutions linked below over at myoscience.com in that regard. But berberine, myo-inositol, magnesium, these are natural products that can help support metabolic health. Now, another thing that I think is really important is the types of exercises that you're doing. If you have low testosterone, if you're a man or a woman, and you do a lot of endurance athletics, back off a little bit, my friends. Focus more on HIIT training. Now, I understand if you like to run marathons or you like to hike and you like to bike and you like to do all these things. I used to be an endurance athlete myself, but guess what? There was one point in my life when my testosterone at 22 was, my total testosterone was 92, which is like terrible, absolutely terrible. And once I stopped endurance training, my levels backed up or jumped back up over 700. So a lot of people are overtraining, especially when it comes to endurance athletics, and that can tank your testosterone levels. And you might get some value out of that exercise, but at what cost? So I think it's important to recognize that overdoing endurance exercise can compromise your testosterone levels. So weightlifting, high intensity interval training, these are activities where you're incorporating major muscle groups, your back, your delts, your glutes, and you're doing intense exercise can support testosterone health. Another tool that I think is very underutilized yet very effective is supporting your DHEA levels. This is a hormone that's made by your adrenal glands that is a precursor to a lot of different other hormones like dihydrotestosterone, like testosterone, and even estrogen. A lot of people, there's actually a decline as well, surprise, surprise, in DHEA levels. And so for young people under the age of 45, you should consider, before you even consider going on hormone replacement therapy, taking DHEA. There's a simple kind of algorithm that you can use. You want to consider, if your levels are low, about 10 milligrams per decade of life. So if you're 50 years old, you can safely start out at 50 milligrams per day. I think from a circadian rhythm perspective, dosing DHEA in the evening before bed is a good idea. If you're a female, the calculation is going to be 10 milligrams per decade of life times 0.25. So you want 75% less than men. So for women, if you're 40, you might want to start out at like 10 milligrams or 5 milligrams, kind of see and work your way up. But it's very important for postmenopausal women to consider supporting DHEA levels, because after menopause, the natural androgen production dramatically goes down because the ovaries were making testosterone and they're not anymore. It's only the adrenal glands. And a lot of women have low testosterone because they have adrenal issues, circadian rhythm issues. So it's not just a hormone, it's an over-the-counter product that can be purchased. I'll put links below. Our sister company, Myoscience, offers this in a bunch of different dosages and things like that you can try. But very underutilized yet highly effective way to support testosterone. Okay. Last but not least, I know this sounds a little bit interesting for some of you, and that is glandular extracts. So you can take adrenal glandulars, you can take testicular glandulars, and that they can be surprisingly effective, especially if people have just gonadal hypofunction. If you have low testosterone, but you're a male and you're doing all the right things with regards to sleep and exercise and eating real food and protein and lifting weights like we've been talking about, testicular extracts can help. I think the best use case for these is taking them at night before bed. And there's the alpha male stack over at Myoscience that we offer that's been very effective for men. Again, pairing that with DHEA, the extracts, testicular extracts derived from bovine testicles, has been shown to be effective. And again, some of you might be thinking, well, you lost me at gonads or organ extracts. Well, actually, if you think about the most commonly used extract of a organ that's widely recognized by mainstream medicine, it's thyroid extract. Both porcine and bovine thyroid extract has been very helpful for people that have had surgical ablation of their thyroid due to cancers, or people that have hypothyroidism. Organ glandular extracts have been shown to be helpful. And this is one of the longest use cases of sort of supplements. Liver extracts have been helpful for people with issues with regards to, say, iron issues and anemias and sorts. So I wouldn't just write them off as sort of witchcraft or quackery, because this has been utilized for a long time in medicine. So it's just something to consider. Of course, you can order or eat, literally eating the testicles of an animal. So if you have a deficiency in some sort of organ, whether it's your thyroid, whether it's your pancreas or your spleen or your liver, it makes sense to actually consume the contents of that from another animal. I know it sounds a little crazy for some of you, but this is a sort of way of supporting health that is under-recognized but is important, and it's been utilized extensively throughout traditions and cultures throughout the world. So I would encourage you to have an open mind about all that. But I think this is a very important issue that we need to talk more about. And the cool part about this is the scientific studies are actually showing that our lifestyle is the most important factor when it comes to supporting hormone levels and hormone health. And it's something that we should all be focusing on, because we're seeing now an epidemic of low androgens and low testosterone. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like button. Be sure to leave a comment below, and I would love to know what you are doing to support healthy hormone levels in your life. What have you found to be effective? Is it sleep? Is it walking? Is it mouth taping? Is it weightlifting? Is it cutting back on the cardio? Have you found benefit from testicular extracts or other extracts? I would love to know. Let me know in the comments below. I'll put links to the article that I was referring to here and in the show notes. And if you have any other questions, let me know in the comments, and we'll catch you on a future episode down the road. Have a great day.